Action. Action. Now I vamp a little bit because it takes a few minutes for people to find us. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the Hollywood Gatekeepers Facebook group, YouTube channel, all of the above. So nice to see you today. I'm doing a live session, which I absolutely adore doing. These are super fun. We get to like just share some things about being a reader. I'll make sure I can see your comments. And yeah, love to pop in and do these. And today we are doing um, just a day in the life of the reader. What's it like being a reader? People ask that all the time. So much so that we have free sessions, we have paid programs. In our paid program, we have a whole module that is a day in the life of the reader. Just like, what is it? What do you do? So how are you? Tell me everything. Would love if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Now's your chance. Ask the questions that you have, and I'll kind of walk through what it is, the daily life of a reader, as well as, as I go, probably we'll do some pitfalls or challenges or things that pop up when you are becoming a reader, being a reader, all of that. I've been doing this for a really long time, reading screenplays, so much so that now, excuse me, I read more projects for just people that I like or just referral basis, because I've been doing it for a while now. But we are training people how to be great readers. Excuse me. Have a little bit of tea there, sorry. So we talk about how to be great readers and how to write great coverage, because that is the key. The key is writing great coverage, and we'll get to that. But a day in the life of the reader. Hi, I see people popping in. Nice to see you. A day in the life of the reader. What is it like to be a reader? Awesome. I'm just looking at your comments. Sorry. So yeah, we'll cover some of that. Totally, focusing on, you're in the right place. That's all I have to say. So as we look at what is the day in the life of the reader, let me kind of walk you through what that's like. One of the main things about being a reader is that you work from home, and we've worked from home long before it was fashionable to work from home. It's basically been the whole time I've been a reader, and it's been when everything happened and people started working from home. I spent a lot of my time helping my friends and family figure out how to get online, how to do Zoom, how to work from home. And there are challenges to that. So that's the kind of the first thing we want to lay out. As you know, most people know now the challenges of working from home. So when you work from home, we actually have some guides. We do a master class and we give out a whole guide of how to work from home, because there's certain things that you need to put into place when you're working from home. And I want to preface all of this in terms of the day in the life of being a reader. When we're talking about the things that we do in our daily life being a reader, we do a lot of talking about self-care, about setting routines, about, figuring out how you're going to work, what is the best way to work, because we want you to be as even keeled as possible, so that when you pick up that screenplay, you're coming from a very centered place. You're not coming from a place of, oh my gosh, where's my desk? I can't figure out, what am I doing? You kind of not coming from a place of chaos when you pick up someone's screenplay. We want you to be coming from a place of focus. And sometimes when you work from home, that can be a real challenge. And once you kind of get a rhythm, I've read screenplays at Angel Stadium, at Padre Stadium, I love baseball, Dodger Stadium. I've read screenplays at hockey rinks, I've soccer fields. My son was a sports person, so I was constantly taking him places and reading screenplays while I was sitting on the sidelines. So that's the beauty of it. You can do it from anywhere, as long as you can maintain an inner even keel, centered place while you're doing that. So sometimes when you're first starting out, especially, it's good to establish a place in your home that is your little corner, that you have everything you need, so that is your work area, so that you can be consistent. Once you kind of get your rhythm, you can move around a little bit and do all of that. But at first, it's setting that kind of routine and getting something that's established is really important, because when you start reading a screenplay, we don't want any of your angst coming onto that page. You want to be coming from a place of, I'm just here, I'm very present for this story, I'm going to read this story, and I'm going to be very curious as I read it. I'm not going to come at a place of like, oh, this is going to be terrible, this is going to be bad. When you do that, you're putting that into the work. And so we want you to come from a place of, how can I help this story move forward? How can I make this screenplay even better? How can I help this writer launch their career? How can I help this producer find the script that they want? How can I be something not that's part of a bottleneck, but that's part of getting the flow of this project going? So Really, really, really important. So that's why we recommend that you establish a spot where you're going to be reading your screenplays, and that you establish a routine, and that you establish a routine for yourself in the mornings where whatever you need to do in terms of if you meditate or exercise or take a nice long hot shower, whatever it is that kind of clears your brain and gets you in a place to be able to read and analyze screenplays. So that is kind of number one in terms of the day in the life of the reader. And then the second thing that we talk a lot about is know yourself. Know know the kind of genre that you want to read, know your routine. Do you like to work it all night long? That's the beautiful thing about it. You're making your own routine. So you can read all night and sleep all day. That's totally fine. You can do whatever works for you as long as there's a routine for you to stay constant and to stay even in your life. So if you're reading all night because you didn't have time during the day, that's different. That means you're never sleeping, which is not good. So you want to be established, but you can do it however you like. If you work better in the evenings, work in the evenings. If you're a early morning person, you want to get up at 4 a.m., get up at 4 a.m. That part you can figure out. So knowing yourself and being consistent with that and working in the flows that makes sense for you. One of the things that we do in our course inside of the Day of the Reader part of the course is that we have you literally track your day to see when are you most active, when do you feel the best, when are you, so that you can start to know yourself and know when is the best place time for you to work, what it was it that you want to do. And that also goes into what kinds of screenplays do you want to read? Do you want to work in television? Do you want to read features? Do you want to do horror films only? Are you a rom-com person? You knowing what you love and don't love is also really important. So some of your homework as a reader, and brace yourself because this is going to be really hard for you, is watching movies. You need to watch movies. You need to be aware of what's out there. You need to be able to, when you read a screenplay, see what their influences are. A lot of times people ask, am I too old to do this? Am I too young to do this? None of that matters. If you're of a certain age and you're retired, you need to just make sure that you're super current on movies that are happening right now, know who actors are, know who writers are, know who directors are. It just helps you to have a better idea of the industry when you're reading, which will help that screenplay. If you're young, make sure that you know that there are more than one A Star is Born. Make sure that you know films that happened before your parents were born. Make sure that you're aware of the movie industry as a whole. The more that you understand trends, the more that you know when something is a remake, the more that you can recognize when you read a screenplay, oh, this was influenced by that, the better reader you will be. So age doesn't matter. I mean, I always joke that, am I too old? Am I too young? And am I too tall? Because that's how much age matters. It doesn't matter at all. So being able to just pick up that screenplay and start from a place of being even, start from a place of encouragement, from a place of curiosity, and from a place of where does this fit in the industry as a whole? Where does this fit within, movies that are being made now and movies that were made in yesteryear? So really kind of understanding that will make you a better reader. And it's fun. If you love this, you love this. And being able to understand what's happening in the industry just makes it more fun. So the more that you know what you love, the more that you can approach that screenplay from a really educated and centered place. So if, for instance, you just really can't stand rom-coms, it doesn't do that writer much good if you're reading their rom-com, because you're going to be coming from already a biased place. You have biases. We all have biases. It doesn't mean that you can't read rom-coms if you don't like them. You can. You just have to be really aware of your own biases and be really aware when you're coming from a place of, I really just don't like this in general. So you have to be open to that. Sometimes you'll read screenplays that might offend you in some way. And so you have to make sure that you're aware of what's offending you and what's going to offend, in your opinion, the world at large. This has become very important these days. So being able to know what you love, know where you stand. It might seem like you want to read as many screenplays as possible in as many genres for as many people, but that's actually counterintuitive. The more that you know what you love, be centered in who you are, what kind of movies you want to be involved in, the easier it will be, because there's so many screenplays out there. There's so many people, and now it's so much easier to connect with each other, that you can connect with the kinds of projects that you love. And the more that you're starting from a place of love, the more that screenplay is going to soar, because you're going to be coming from a place of, how can I make this better? Not, this is terrible and I just want to get rid of it. So that's really important in our opinion. That's kind of where we stand as being a reader. So you spend your day whatever time works for you. You also are choosing, do I want to work full time? Do I want to work part time? Do I want to work just with writers, or do I want to work with producers, or both? Do I only want to work with a certain genre? Like, you decide all of that. Are you someone who reads slowly? Well, that means your turnaround time is going to be a little longer. Are you someone that loves the thing of like, I want to read it and get it out? Then you can do screenplays and turn them around more quickly. I'm a writer. So as you look at, what do you want as a whole, that's what you create for your world. And then we highly recommend that you take one piece of your week, whether you're working full time or, you have to figure that out in your own time zone in terms of if you're working, say, full time, you want to take one day of your full time day and have that be a day that you center on your own career. What is it that you want? Who do you need to meet? I hesitate to call it networking because I feel like networking kind of has a stink on it. I feel like people think of networking, they cringe and they think of like, here's my card. They kind of get, most readers are introverts. It just sounds so horrifying, the idea of networking. Anytime I bring it up, people go, I don't want to know. So no networking. So, but now there's so many tools and there's so much so many different social media platforms that you can pick the one that best suits you. So you can pick a platform that you can write blogs. If you're a writer, you can pick a platform where you can sort of share your work or share who you are, share what you're about, share what your loves are, share the movies that inspire you, so that when someone is trying to get to know you and wants to figure out if they want to work with you and they want you to read for them, read a screenplay for them, they can have a place to go to see kind of what you're about. And so but it can be on a level of whatever you like. If you are comfortable on camera, you can do things on camera. If you want to write blogs, you can go out and write blogs. If you want to go on Clubhouse, because there's no cameras involved, it's only audio. We'll be on there tomorrow. You can go into Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an amazing tool to meet people. So, because it's a new platform, so there's a lot of people there, and it's audio only. You can just pop into rooms, make comments, listen to people, meet people. It's a really great space for that. If you're visual and you want to share inspiring quotes or things about movies, you can go over to Instagram. If you want to really focus on business, LinkedIn is a wide open platform right now in terms of the industry. There's not a lot of people on there. It's a really great space to meet people, to share what your articles about reading and movies that you love, and letting people know that this is what you do. You are a story analyst. So spending one day a week, or if you're working part-time, a portion of your part-time work is your own career building. Whether it's, you'll start fielding referrals. That's just when people start learning that you're a reader, they will ask you to read for them. That's just kind of the nature of being a reader. And so you're going to want to be able to field some of those offers. You want to make sure that you're not reading for free too much, that when you're first starting, you're going to do that a little bit to kind of get your feet wet. But you just need to be able to learn to set boundaries, know what you're going to charge for things, and that also goes in with your turnaround time. How long is it going to take you to do things? Really knowing yourself in terms of how long will a project take me? So these are that's kind of the basic schedule of just setting your own routine, in whether it's morning or evening, whatever your thing is, and then setting some designated time that you're going to read and write, read a screenplay, write a coverage. Once you get going, I got to where I could read a lot of screenplays and then write all the coverages. Because sometimes I would read screenplays when I was out and about or at the baseball game, like I said, and then I would come home to write the coverage because I'd be a little more focused. But I wouldn't recommend that when you're first starting out, because you'll get the screenplays confused in your head. Might not seem like it, but suddenly you're writing about a sci-fi film, and then an evil clown pops in. Like, wait a minute. So you want to make sure that you're not confusing your stories. So you get that routine going, and then you spend a portion of that time figuring out, where do you want to work, what people do you want to work with, what types of screenplays do you want to read, that kind of thing. But the quality of your coverage is sort of the key of all of this. So everything boils down to being able to write a coverage that inspires, that doesn't tear anyone apart, that doesn't tear a screenplay apart. There's no such, I joke about screenplays are not babies. You can tear them apart, because I don't want people to be super married to their work, but you want to be able to approach that screenplay from, like I always say, a place of curiosity, and from a place of, how can I make this better? How can I help this writer get their foot in the door? How can I help this producer find the perfect project for what they want to produce? produce. A lot of the times when you read for producers, when you're looking for work and you're reaching out to producers, you need to know their history of what they've produced. You go onto IMDb and you figure out what kind of producer are they, what kind of projects do they do, what do they like, do they only do horror films? So then if they're only doing horror films, you don't want to say, hey, I read this great rom-com. You want to make sure that as you're reaching out to people, you're a fit for them. If you hate horror films, you don't want to be reaching out to horror film companies. You want to make sure that you're, a right fit as a reader for that company. And then you want to know what kind of things they're producing so that you know where that screenplay that you're about to read fits into that. A lot of the times producers will have projects that they ask you to read. When I start my day as a reader, I would start by just looking at my emails to see who's emailed me new scripts. Some places have a portal that you log into and you have your batch waiting for you. You kind of start your day making sure that all of your deadlines, what's happening, making sure that you're organized in that way. So really setting your schedule and understanding what needs to be done, and so that you can meet whatever deadlines have been set between you and the person that you're reading the screenplay for. So it really can vary depending on the kind of work you want to do and the person that you're working with. But writing solid coverage and getting that coverage in within the deadline that they give you. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's as soon as you finish it. It's what you've negotiated with the person that you're working with. So if you have that quality coverage, the more that you read, the more you'll get referred. You'll get noticed if your coverage is good. So that is really the key. And always having some sample coverages available so that if someone wants to work with you, you can say, let me shoot over a coverage. You can see the kind of work that I do. And so you want to have a couple of samples that show different types of coverages, meaning like one that's a pass, one that's a consider, one that is a horror film, one that's a sci-fi. So you can kind of really, again, let people know what you're about. So those are kind of the keys. Let me just see if there's comments. Yeah, so I have a glare that's making it hard to read. How many? Oh, so yeah, so you have to, so Harold, that's a really great comment of like trying to figure out how many hours a week that you can focus on it. This is great training for you. So for those of you that are in a regular job and you're transitioning to this, I look at that job that you're in as being your investor in the thing that you want to do. So being able to be really grateful for the job that you have that's providing you with whatever it is that you need, and being able to start to manage how many hours a week that you can focus on this new thing that you want to do is the same as when you start reading, and you're going to have to figure out how many hours can you manage reading these projects. So this is always, your life as a reader is always going to have this this development thing going, where you're going to have to be reading and figuring out your schedule with that. So as you're working and figuring that out as you transition, it's great training. It's one of the reasons in all of our paid programs where we have a course where you can learn how to be a reader. We have our Inside Track, which is has a membership where we can, meet weekly and do live coaching and that kind of thing. We always say there's no such thing as behind. There's no such thing as late. There's no such, if you miss things, we give you replays. We always make it available to you. So this session will live on our YouTube channel and will live in the Hollywood Gatekeepers Facebook group, so that you always have a place to go where you can find this session and work it around your own schedule, because that's what your life is like as a reader. You'll be making your own schedule. So we try to imitate that with, like, if people come in the middle of sessions, that's fine. If you have to leave early, because we know that you are making your own schedule all the time. That's your life now. So we want to accommodate that. So we've designed our programs around that. Oh, so I'm glad you're back. You tried to watch on Instagram, but here you are. So, oh, I did. So yeah, I did, but I can talk about that again. I did answer it. I'll talk about it again. So your turnaround time is what you decide it to be. So you set that up with whoever you're reading the screenplay for to begin with. So if you're reading with a producer and you say, a lot of times they'll say, well, they have some scripts that they don't really need, that aren't like front of the line projects, and they have some that they need right away. So you can determine what kind of reader you want to be. So I love the action of quick turnarounds and that kind of thing. So I became sort of known as and plus I can read really fast, so I could turn coverages around really fast. So that was I liked that energy of that. Let's just get this done, get it out. But some people don't want that kind of thing. They want to be able to take their time with it. So you say, this is my typical turnaround time. You can set your thing. Or when you first meet with the producer, you can say, what are your turnaround times? Typically they'll have different things available. Sometimes they have 2 to 3 days is a very common turnaround time on a screenplay. That's super common. And so you'll just, again, it's the same thing of knowing yourself, knowing how long does it take you to read that screenplay, how long will it take you to write the coverage, and how long is that turnaround time, and then kind of banking your how much you'll charge for that, so that you're getting paid a rate that makes sense for you. So if the more if you can do a quick turnaround, you can charge more for it. Sometimes you can say, I will do one quick turnaround and three longer ones, or you can package together. If I read 5 scripts a week for you, I'll give you a break on what it's per script, because you get paid per script. So you negotiate what it is that you want to do, and then you find the right fit for you within that negotiation. So I hope that makes sense. That's the beautiful thing about being a reader. It really is. There's challenges to it because you have to do it. You have to do it on your own. You're not clocking in and someone's just telling you what to do. You are setting the groundwork of what you want it to be. And then you have to be able to maneuver within that and work with people, of course. If you're working a producer and they're saying this is your deadline, you need it by then, that's your deadline, they need it by then. If you're working with a writer, sometimes with writers, it can be a little more fluid because often, and you can charge more because often with a writer, it also might include a phone call or two. You're kind of working with them a little more than typically with producers. They want that coverage because they're using that coverage to move the project forward. So it's a little bit different. So, but again, it's up to you. You set that tone. And really having a good coverage is the key, which is why we created these programs, because it was actually a funny moment where Doug Shaner, my fearless partner, and I, we got a coverage back on a screenplay, and this coverage was really well written, and we were like, "This is a great coverage." That had things that were wrong about the screenplay. We didn't care about that. What we cared about was that the coverage was written really well, and we were like, "Wow!" And then we were kind of shocked how shocked we were that the coverage was written well, because it was like, "Gosh, that's such a bummer that we expect coverage to be not good." And recently I wrote a film and it was filmed and I went on location and filmed this movie and it's going to come out next year, or I guess this year now. It's January. So, we got that screenplay covered, and we got it covered a couple of times because the first coverage was like I couldn't even make heads or tails out of it. So it was like, what the heck? So we see that a lot. And so it was like, yeah, because no one teaches people how to write good coverage. And it was like, we should do that. It was like one of those moments of like, you're right. No one does. I had to just figure it out. So that's why we created the Hollywood Gatekeepers program, so that we could create a place where people could come and learn not only how to write quality coverage, but how to live the day in the life of a reader. I don't think there's anything out there that shows you kind of how to maneuver through it, how to set your boundaries, how to like do all the things that you need to do so that you have a content life, so that you're not taking your chaotic life and putting it on this page that you're going to be judging. So how do you balance, how do you have the work-life balance? How do you balance being a reader? How do you make screenplays better? How do you come from a centered place of love with the screenplay so that you can help that writer really push forward? How do you be that conduit for a producer who's looking for the perfect project? How can you be that person? And that's why we're so passionate about this. So we have our Hollywood Gatekeepers Masterclass. If you want to learn more about the reading process, you can join that. That's at hollywoodgatekeepers.com/masterclass. I think I have it here. And then this coming January 22nd, free masterclass, right? Hollywood Gatekeepers, ooh, it's like ticker tape parade. HollywoodGatekeepers.com/free masterclass. So you can dive into there and learn all the nuances of being a reader. And then we also, on January 22nd, for the first time, we're doing an all-day intensive just about story, because story is so important in a screenplay. So we're doing that. It's a paid class for the whole day from 10 to 4 on January 22nd. You can find out more about that by going to hollywoodgatekeepers.com/story, and you can learn more about that event. I'm really excited because we've never done a live event like this before. So it'll be really interesting. We're also unleashing, unveiling is probably a better word. Unleash, unleash the technique. Wah, wah, wah. We are unveiling the inside outside technique, which is something I've always been trying to figure out. What's the best way to explain the difference between reading for writers and reading for producers? Because it's very different. So we're going to really dive into that during this workshop, and it will make it so that you have an understanding of story. And for those of you, we have a lot of people that are in our programs that are also going to be taking this workshop, and the inside outside technique will be something that will really like skyrocket your ability to write good coverage. So thank you, Cherie, for putting that in there. So really, really love how you're here. I really love that you're here figuring this out, paying attention, getting your coverage done. And let us know in the comments as you create and as you figure out what kind of reader that you want to be, that you are becoming, whatever it might be. Feel free to leave questions, comments, and we're just so excited. We'll be doing a lot more trainings on these kinds of things. You can also find us in Clubhouse. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram. And sign up for our mailing list. Anytime you do any kind of our trainings, you can be on our mailing list. So we can send you more free trainings. So we have a lot of free content, and then we also have our paid courses. We'd love to have you in any of those. But we're just having the greatest time really developing really good readers that write spectacular coverage, that help that writer really understand, help that reader really understand what that writer is going through, really being that conduit for that writer to lift them up so that when they get your coverage, they go, oh, they see all the ways they can make their screenplay better, that they never feel dejected and beaten up. Instead, they feel inspired and ready to write. And that producers are like, this is what I need. And we've had producers that have gotten back to us about our readers that have said things like, you have made this about the script, good, bad, or indifferent, not about how smart and funny and clever you can be, because it's not about you as a reader. It's about that story in that screenplay. That's all it's about. You are not part of it. The screenplay and the story is what it's about. And we are all working together to try to make that better, because the better that movies are, the better that they will make people feel. People will come, they come to escape, they come to learn, they come to grow, they come to feel, they come to laugh, they come to cry, there's so many reasons that people want to see good movies. And the better movies can be, the better it will make people feel, and the better their lives will be, and the better the world will be. I know it sounds silly and Pollyanna and all that, but I really believe it, and I love that we have a hand in that. So join us in the masterclass, join us on the 22nd. Would love to see you there, and stay within the Facebook group. Let us know what's happening, and we'll see you at the next free training. Thanks, you guys. Talk to you soon.